Ahoy there, friends. Captain Cloud here, a former pirate of the sky who still tips his hat to the finest lifesavers ever to fly the seas, the United States Coast Guard. Before we get underway with today's rescues, we need to take a moment to honor one of their own. Just days ago, the Coast Guard lost a rescue swimmer, Petty Officer Second Class Tyler Jaggers, an aviation survival technician from Air Station Astoria. While flying aboard an MH-60 Jayhawk on a medical evacuation mission off the Washington coast, Jaggers was critically injured during the rescue of a mariner in distress. He fought for his life for several days before passing away on March 5, 2026. The service recognized his courage with a meritorious promotion and the Distinguished Flying Cross, one of the nation's highest awards for heroism in aerial flight. Rescue swimmers live by a simple creed, so others may live, and Petty Officer Jaggers carried that oath to the very end. So before we roll the footage today, we salute a fellow aircrew man, a lifesaver, and a Coast Guardsman who gave everything in the line of duty. Now then, mates, let's take a look at today's rescues. Now gather round, mates, and cast your eyes toward the rugged country of Washington State. Near the cold waters of Lake Cushman, tucked up against the Olympic Mountains. Beautiful country to explore, no doubt about it. But when winter snow covers those steep forest slopes, a simple hike can turn dangerous mighty quick. And when someone gets hurt out here, there aren't many roads, and there certainly aren't many easy ways out. That's when the call goes out to the United States Coast Guard. Launching to answer it is an MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter from Coast Guard Air Station Astoria, Oregon. A powerful twin-engine rescue bird designed for the worst weather the sea can throw at it, and just as capable when the mission leads inland to the mountains. On this day, 2 people have been injured on a snowy hillside. The terrain is steep, the trees are thick, and there's no safe place for a helicopter to land, which means this rescue will be done the Coast Guard way, from a hover. As the Jayhawk arrives overhead, the crew brings up the forward-looking infrared camera. Even through snow and shadow, the camera reveals the heat of the people gathered on the ground, bright white shapes against the cold mountainside. A small team of rescuers has already reached the injured hikers and begun preparing one of them for evacuation. Now, hovering a helicopter over mountainous terrain is no easy bit of flying, friends. Winds curl and swirl through valleys and treetops, pushing the aircraft in ways that don't always show on the instruments. Inside the cockpit, the pilots are working constantly, making tiny corrections every second, holding the Jayhawk steady over a narrow opening in the trees. Back in the cabin, the flight mechanic begins preparing the rescue hoist. The hoist cable is made of strong braided steel, capable of lifting hundreds of pounds safely into the aircraft. But even with all that strength, every movement must be smooth and controlled. One wrong swing into the trees could spell trouble. The cable begins to lower. Riding down that line is one of the Coast Guard's most trusted lifesavers, the rescue swimmer, officially known as an aviation survival technician. These are the men and women trained to reach survivors wherever they may be. Stormy seas, sinking ships, flooded rivers, icy waters, and sometimes snowy mountain slopes like this one. The swimmer reaches the ground and quickly joins the rescue team. The injured hiker is already secured in a rescue litter, a special stretcher designed for helicopter hoists. Straps are checked. Lines are secured. Then comes the signal to the helicopter above. The cable tightens, and slowly, the litter begins to rise. Up it comes, lifting gently from the snow as the hoist motor pulls the cable back toward the aircraft. The flight mechanic watches closely, guiding the litter through branches and keeping it clear of the surrounding trees. From below, the helicopter appears almost frozen in place, hanging high above the mountainside. But inside the cockpit, the pilots are still dancing with the controls, keeping that machine balanced in the winter air. Higher and higher the litter climbs until it reaches the open cabin door. The crew leans out, grabs hold, and carefully brings the patient aboard the Jayhawk. One survivor safe. But the mission isn't finished yet. There's still another person waiting down on that snowy hillside. So once again, the hoist cable rolls out, dropping back through the cold mountain air. The rescue swimmer reconnects with the second survivor and prepares them for the ride up to the helicopter. A quick signal upward, and the hoist begins again. Slowly, the pair rise from the mountainside, lifted through the trees toward the aircraft hovering above. The flight mechanic keeps a steady hand on the hoist controls, guiding them safely to the door while the pilots maintain their delicate hover over the narrow clearing. In just a few moments, the second survivor reaches the cabin and is brought safely aboard. With both hikers now inside the Jayhawk, the crew secures the hoist and prepares to depart the mountains. The helicopter turns toward Olympia Regional Airport, where emergency medical crews are waiting to take over care for the injured patients. Another rescue complete. Another crew returning home knowing they answered the call when someone needed help the most. And that, my friends, is the kind of work the United States Coast Guard performs every single day. Quietly, professionally, and often in places where no one else can reach. Not bad work for a crew of sky sailors, if you ask an old pirate like me. A clean rescue in the mountains, and 2 hikers headed for help thanks to that Jayhawk crew. But the Coast Guard's work is never done. So now we sail a bit farther south to Oregon, where another helicopter crew is about to pluck a stranded soul straight out of the wilderness. Our next rescue takes us down to southern Oregon, deep in the rugged Illinois River Valley near Greenwall Rapids. Now this country is wild and steep, the sort of place where a wrong step can leave a man stranded with no easy way out. And that's exactly what happened here. After several days of searching alongside the Josephine County Sheriff's Office, rescuers finally located the missing man down in the canyon. With cliffs, trees, and rushing water all around, the only safe way to reach him was from the sky. A Coast Guard helicopter crew lowers the rescue hoist into the narrow valley, sending their rescuer down to reach the stranded survivor. Once connected to the hoist, the line tightens and the lift begins. Slowly but surely, the man rises out of the canyon and up toward the waiting helicopter. Thanks to a sharp-eyed search and a skilled Coast Guard air crew. Another fine bit of flying there in the Oregon wilderness, and one stranded soul hauled safely out of the canyon. Now, before we sail on to our next rescue, this old sky pirate has a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy watching these real Coast Guard missions, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps keep the wind in our sails and these stories coming your way. All right then, let's head out to the Pacific near Hawaii for our next rescue. Now our next rescue takes us far out into the Pacific Ocean, about 100 miles offshore of the Hawaiian island of Kauai. Out here, the sea stretches to the horizon in every direction, and when someone aboard a ship falls ill, help may be hours away, unless a Coast Guard air crew can reach them. The aircraft answering this call is an MH-65 Dolphin helicopter from Coast Guard Air Station Barbers Point. A nimble little rescue bird, built for speed and precision, and perfectly suited for operations from both shore bases and Coast Guard cutters at sea. Before heading out to the cargo ship in distress, the Dolphin makes a quick stop aboard the Coast Guard cutter Harriet Lane. Now this is something you don't see every day. Landing a helicopter on the deck of a ship that's moving through the ocean takes careful coordination between the pilots in the air and the deck crew below. The ship must hold the proper heading into the wind while the helicopter settles down onto a flight deck that's constantly rising and falling with the swell. Once safely aboard, the deck crew quickly moves in to refuel the aircraft. Out here in the open Pacific, distance is the enemy. The extra fuel ensures the Dolphin has the range it needs to reach the ship, complete the rescue, and return safely. In just a short time, the refueling is complete. The crew secures the aircraft, the engines spin up again, and the little Dolphin lifts gracefully off the cutter's deck to continue the mission. Their destination is the cargo ship Viking Emerald, where a 37-year-old crew member is suffering from severe abdominal pain and needs urgent medical care ashore. Soon the ship comes into view below. The vessel stretches more than 500 feet in length. a massive roll-on, roll-off cargo carrier moving steadily across the Pacific. But even a ship that large doesn't always have room for a helicopter to land. So once again, the rescue will be done by hoist. The Dolphin settles into a hover above the ship's deck while the flight mechanic prepares the rescue cable. Down goes the hoist, lowering the rescue swimmer toward the crew waiting below. The swimmer reaches the deck and quickly moves to the patient. After a quick medical check, the crew secures the man into a rescue basket for the ride up to the helicopter. The signal is given, the cable tightens, and the hoist begins to lift. Slowly, the patient rises from the deck of the Viking Emerald, carried upward through the sea breeze toward the waiting helicopter. From the cabin door, the flight mechanic guides the basket carefully, making sure it stays clear of the ship's structures as it climbs toward the aircraft. Within moments, the basket reaches the cabin, and the crew pulls the patient safely inside. With the medevac complete, the Dolphin turns back toward land where medical professionals are waiting to take over care. Out here on the open ocean, help can be a long way away. But thanks to the teamwork between Coast Guard aviators, rescue swimmers, and cutter crews, that help can arrive exactly when it's needed most. Not a bad day's sailing for a little Dolphin and her crew, if you ask this old sky pirate. From the snowy slopes of Washington State, to the rugged river canyons of Oregon, and far out across the Pacific near Hawaii, today's rescues show just how far the United States Coast Guard will go to help people in trouble. Helicopter crews, rescue swimmers, and cutter sailors all working together under one simple promise: so others may live. Thanks for sailing along with me today. I'm Captain Cloud, and until our next adventure, keep your compass true, your eyes on the horizon, and we'll see you in the sky.